The 76-year-old woman involved in North Park's hit and run makes her first court appearance. Details in a live report.
Neighbors in the college area frustrated by students parking cars on their lawns. They say it degrades the neighborhood.
How Hanukkah is helping to shine a light on the darkness.
Hanukkah begins tonight, and we're enjoying
latkes and love.
And the late Hollywood legend who's making a comeback thanks to AI. CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts now.
2 employees of a cannabis shop pleaded not guilty to felony charges today. They're accused of operating a business that was illegally selling marijuana products. Good evening, I'm Marcella Lee.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. As CBS 8's David Goffredson reports, the case involves a total of 4 family members allegedly involved in the cannabis operation.
I'd like to waive the formal reading of the complaint, enter a plea of not guilty, and deny all charges and allegations.
Edgar De La Hoz on the left and Diego De La Hoz on the right were both described in court as employees of a cannabis shop allegedly operating without a license in the Middletown area. The Cannably store on India Street is allegedly owned by 2 relatives, Jose De La Hoz and Valeria Rada, who were arraigned on December 1st, also on felony charges. Police raided the store and the residence of the owners last week, seizing more than $1 million worth of cannabis products, according to prosecutors.
Over 3,000 edibles, there's also mushroom edibles, and over $2,000 in currency was seized.
It's unclear whether these 2 defendants are brothers, but they are both charged with maintaining a place for marijuana to be sold, tax evasion, and possession of marijuana for sale. They face up to 4 years in prison if convicted on all charges. Additional felony charges were filed against the owners because marijuana products were stored inside their home where children were present, the prosecutor said.
The owners of the establishment, they've also been charged with child endangerment charges, as well as a couple of children were found inside the residence where a substantial amount of cannabis products and a large amount of money was found as well, too.
The 4 defendants remain free on bail and all have pleaded not guilty. Their defense attorney would not speak on camera, but told me after the hearing the products sold by the establishment are not illegal and the store is being unfairly targeted. On Thursday, the Cannably store appeared to be shut down. All 4 of these defendants are expected to be back in court on Monday when the judge will set a new date for the preliminary hearing. At the downtown courthouse, David Goffredson, CBS 8.
Thank you, David. A death certificate has been released showing the location where the body of Chinese tourist Fang Jin was found in the Anza Borrego Desert. The 47-year-old's remains were found in October downstream from Harper Canyon, about 2.5 miles away from the location where her companion's remains were found in September. Both Jin and her companion, former Navy SEAL John Fitzpatrick, went missing back in July. His truck was found damaged and abandoned several miles away. The cause of death in both cases is listed as pending as the investigation continues.
The 76-year-old woman accused of hitting and killing a man in North Park and driving off pleaded not guilty in court today.
CBS 8's Kirsten Holmes was in court for the arraignment and joins us now live with details. Kirsten, I understand prosecutors offered some pretty disturbing allegations today.
That's right. 76-year-old Donna Jacobs says that she is an innocent woman, but prosecutors say that Donna Jacobs knew that she hit Stephen DuBois because their investigation found that she drove with him on the hood of her car for 65 feet.
Both sides, I think it's difficult for them. On one hand, we have a family that lost their 42-year-old son who was just crossing the street. On the other hand, we have a 76-year-old, defendant.
That's why prosecutors say at first glance, the public might have mercy on 76-year-old Donna Jacobs after she was arrested for hitting 42-year-old Stephen DuBois in North Park in November and driving away. But San Diego police tell prosecutors
Miss Jacobs was driving approximately 30 miles per hour. She struck the victim at the unmarked crosswalk and unfortunately drove with the victim on the hood of her car for approximately 65 feet.
DuBois died a few days later from the injuries he received in that hit and run, leaving his family, friends, and his beloved dog Griff to mourn at this growing memorial. Jacobs showed up to court without an attorney and got help from the public defender's office to represent her during her arraignment. Jacobs and her attorney did not go on camera, but in court, Jacobs denies all charges against her, saying she's innocent. Rosa Igazarian, the assistant DA prosecuting the case, says the evidence San Diego Police Department's traffic division collected says otherwise. Igazarian goes on to say Jacobs' age did not go into consideration when it came to facing charges.
We don't make our charging decisions based on the characteristics of either defendant or victim. We look at the facts before us and we determine whether or not we can proceed with charges if we can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt down a trial.
Jacobs is out on a $100,000 bond and has been ordered not to drive. She's facing 2 charges. One is a felony hit and run charge that's causing death that carries a maximum of 4 years in prison. Her vehicular manslaughter charge carries a 1-year penalty. Reporting for CBS 8, I'm Kirsten Holmes. Back to you.
Such a tragedy, Kirsten. So what's the next step in this case?
Okay, so Jacobs has been ordered to turn in her driver's license at her next court appearance. That's set for December 18th. She'll have a readiness and a preliminary hearing before the end of the year. Marcella?
All right, we'll follow the case. Thanks so much, Kirsten. California is facing a record $68 billion budget deficit. The announcement came today. It's said to be a consequence of a cooling economy and delayed tax filings because of last winter's damaging storms. Governor Gavin Newsom had to come up with a budget over the summer without knowing how much money the state had to spend. The delayed tax collections were off by $26 billion. That is a huge gap. The Legislative Analyst's Office says the state could cut spending on education and take money from the state's savings account to help balance the budget. A scam warning tonight from San Diego Superior Court. The executive officer of the Superior Court says scammers are calling people and posing as a court official or law enforcement. People are told they will be arrested if they don't pay a fine. The court is reminding everybody that if you owe money, you will get a written notice in the mail and you will never be contacted by phone.
The future of De Anza Cove may be starting to take shape tonight. The San Diego Planning Commission approved a proposal to redevelop the more than 500 acres that used to be home to a mobile home park. It's taken more than 7 years just to get to this point. De Anza Natural, as the plan is called, would include more than 200 acres of marshland, and 66 acres will be for recreational activities. Today's approval means the plan will now be considered by the City Council before going to the California Coastal Commission. The last in a series of one-day protests on Cal State University campuses wrapped up at Sacramento State today. The California Faculty Association is pushing for better pay for professors, librarians, coaches, and other workers. They also want more manageable workloads for faculty, better access to breastfeeding stations, extended parental leave, and more gender-inclusive restrooms. One-day strikes took place this week at Cal Poly Pomona, San Francisco State, and CSULA. The California Faculty Association represents about 29,000 workers.
And here in San Diego are remembering the attack on Pearl Harbor 82 years ago today.
The USS Midway Museum held its annual ceremony this morning to honor the people who died in the attack and the survivors, some of whom are still alive. CBS 8's Jesse Pagan is here with a look at how the day that will live in infamy is being marked across the country today. Jesse.
Yeah, Carla Marcella, history remembers the attack on Pearl Harbor as the moment that launched the U.S. into World War II. Today is a day the United States, and specifically military communities like ours, make a point to slow down and reflect.
A somber morning aboard the USS Midway Museum today as the ship's annual ceremony honored service members who died in the attack on Pearl Harbor and survivors who've since passed.
To remember this day, it was a large part of who my dad was.
Bob and Carrie Schenkelberg's father, Clayton, was one of them.
He was an amazing man. There was a reason why they called them the greatest generation. They did what they did for their country. And he was an amazing father who we miss so much.
In Honolulu, the Day of Remembrance started with a jet flyover at the Arizona Memorial.
Even more of an honor is getting to be in the presence of these amazing heroes to our country, the World War II veterans and the Rose of the Riveters and their families who join us today.
More than 2,400 Americans died and 19 ships were left damaged or destroyed when Japanese planes dropped bombs on Pearl Harbor 82 years ago. Many of the service members on the U.S. Navy base jumped into action to try and save who they could. That is 102-year-old Harry Chandler's story, which he told in Honolulu today.
I saw the Arizona going up, saw the Oklahoma turning. Then they put us all in trucks and drove us all down into the harbor, and we started saving people.
People honored with a 21-bell salute at the National World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. as well.
Chandler was one of 5 survivors at the ceremony in Honolulu this morning. As you can imagine, there are fewer of them as time goes on. Carla, Marcella?
It's good to remember and honor them.
Yeah, I know you grew up in Hawaii. My father was walking to church that morning when he saw the attack, so it was a big part of my life growing up, and we just visited over the past summer. If you haven't had a chance to go, it's a pretty neat place to visit, just to think of what happened that day and what ended up happening to our country.
Rich history, and you can learn so much about it right there. And it is an impressive place to visit. An update tonight, the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry is one step closer to opening.
Today, Sandag and Caltrans joined state and local officials to commemorate the completion of the transportation infrastructure needed for the East Port of Entry. Officials say the additional investments will help improve the border trade and safety. The East Port of Entry is expected to open in late 2024.
Still ahead, the first night of Hanukkah has started around the world and here in San Diego County.
Plus, what forced a hot air balloon to make a hard landing in the middle of a neighborhood?
We had some clouds return to the forecast starting last night, lasted all the way through today, but we're going to see less of that tomorrow. And we also have some fire weather concerns to talk about. All those details are ahead.
Up next, new details and a possible hit list in a deadly shooting at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.